few months ago. This was, yeah, a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago now. I was going through things, as we all do. Personal things, decisions really is what I was going through, decisions I had to make. And I hit this point, and if I'm, just keeping it real, which is what I started this podcast with saying, is I just like to keep it real. I really do feel my whole life I have felt this draw and this pull and this fixation on wanting to do what God would have me do. And I feel blessed and fortunate that feels planted in my heart. I mean, it feels just it kind of in my bones to when dust settles in my life, or I go through periods and the ebbs and flows of this mortal experience, I can sit back and again, when fog clears and lifts, I immediately just go, well, no, I need to reorient. I need to go back to God. That's just like default settings for me. That's how it's always been. And not crazy long ago, I was, again, going through some decisions and looking forward. And it got to a point where I could kind of see two paths for me to go down. And one was, if I'm being honest, those were like desires I had. It was what I thought would satisfy me. It was what I thought could heal me. And the other path was this path of, here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it. And saying those words, I just was at a place where I couldn't do that. I didn't want to. I was prone to leave the God I love. I really was. And I remember talking to God one day, and I distinctly felt the idea of, hey, this like prick you've had your whole life, almost like the nudge, those default settings that I've had where I'm just kind of nudged in the direction of the Lord. That feeling, I felt God essentially saying, you're old enough, you're grown enough, you've matured enough, you've been through enough, you know me enough. That's not for you anymore. I'm done nudging you. And it was a little more concise and a little too personal to share the exact way in which it was, but the idea, the sentiments impressed upon my heart were, these default settings you've had, we're just gonna lift those. You're capable of making your own choices without being compelled one way or another, without having the Spirit of God impress upon my heart that I need to always come back. And I was shocked. I was scared. I was worried. There was so many emotions I went through. Because it was like, is this evidence of God doesn't trust me anymore and he's removing this from me? Well, that was one way I could have looked at it, and I could have maybe spiraled. Or maybe God in his house was watching me walk away and was telling me, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go down whatever path you feel you ought to go down. I'm not going to chase you. I'll always watch. Every day, I'll be looking off the balcony, ready for you to come back. And if you do, I'm here. I'm watching. But it was God essentially saying, I trust you to make your own decisions. And it rocked me a bit. That was a pretty heavy experience I went through of, well, dang, like this is, and not to say like I was a robot before and I just, I didn't make my own choices. I definitely did. And some good ones, some bad ones. But it was the first time where it was just like, no, in those hard moments, you're not going to have, when the dust settles for you, when the busyness and craziness of life lifts, it's not going to be as clear anymore with how crowded life is and with what you've been through. You really will just have to decide out of the love of your heart to follow me, no longer out of like a compulsion. It needs to be 100% self-generated. You can't do it because you think you'll get some blessings. You can't do it because you feel you should. You can't do it because your parents taught you should. You can't do it just because the societal pressures and religious pressures. I feel if you are going to do this, if you're going to face me and fix your heart upon me, you in your heart, you, that will, that seed of willpower that I have, which is really all I have to give to God, I need to plant that in him and put that trust in him 100% out of my own free will and choice. I can't be nudged anymore. I can't be a seed in the wind that lands on God's pasture. I need to get to that pasture, plant that deep in the ground, and nourish it for the rest of my life.